Hey everyone. Oh, and here we are at yet another Q&A. This is actually the first Q&A of 2020, so that's pretty exciting. My name is Rachel Leah Gerson. I am the creatrix and metaphysical practitioner at Doorway to Self. Hey Shannon, thanks for coming in. And if you've never been here before for a Q&A, this is something that I do every month, once a month, and for an hour, where we just kind of sit in this container where you guys can ask whatever questions you may have about the metaphysical world in general. So that could be anything from psychic abilities to numerology to cutting cords to twin flames to literally anything. And I will do my best to answer them on this platform. Hi, Susan, live. If I don't know the answer, I will let you know, and I will look some stuff up to give you the resources. But in the meantime, you are welcome to pop your questions into the comment box on Facebook or Instagram. I am on both, so you're welcome to do that at any point in time, and I will get to your question as soon as I am done answering whichever one I'm in the middle of answering. The other thing is that I do give the option as well to ask questions anonymously beforehand. So if you want to ask an anonymous question, you are welcome to email me. Unfortunately, the window for anonymous questions at this point is closed. So I do have 3 questions that were asked anonymously. 2 were from the same person. There were 4 originally, 2 were from the same person, so I just kind of lumped them together because they're along the same topic. Hey Elise, thanks for coming on. So I'm going to go ahead and start by reading off some of those anonymous questions that were asked and starting to answer those. So we will do that, and then as you guys have questions, just feel free to pop them in. Energy is really strong right now. We've got a lot going on astrologically and numerologically. Hey Dawn, thanks for coming on. So if you guys have questions about that, of course, by all means, pop them in the box. I know a lot's going on and coming up. And also, shameless plug, there are still 4 spots left for Saturday's workshop. So if you have not yet signed up and you're in the Grand Rapids area or willing to drive, you might want to check that out. You can just go, if you're on Instagram, to the link in my bio. If you're on Facebook, you can just check out the Doorway to Self events. There is a ticket link that you can go to get your tickets and find out more about the event, which I'm sure I will talk about at some point or multiple points during this Q&A as well. So, hi Mella, thanks for coming on. Okay. Also, if I read things strangely, it's because I don't have my glasses on. I find there's a glare usually, so I apologize for that. Yes, Mella, you may absolutely ask a question. I'm going to start out by answering something that was asked anonymously beforehand, but I will definitely get to your question as soon as I'm done answering that. Cool. Hey, Michelle, thanks for coming on. Okie dokie. So, the first question I got is, how do you turn off psychic abilities? I don't want to see or feel people's energy anymore. And this is a question that I tend to get quite a bit. This was asked on Instagram, which, by the way, if you are on Instagram, there's also, every time before the Q&A, I also put one of those little question box that you can put your anonymous questions into as well. So that's also an option. Anywho, this is a question that I tend to get a lot, and the answer is complex. So the first part of the answer is to ground, right? So when we think of ourselves as human beings are energy innately, right? If you were to compare us to a plug, right, to an electrical plug, essentially that's kind of what we are. We're this buzzing energy, right? And in order to reconnect and bring our energy down and level out and become okay with ourselves, essentially on a mental health level, we need to do what's called grounding. So if you think of an electrical plug, when you plug it into an outlet, when you plug it into a socket, it's called grounding, right? For those of you who know electrical terms. So it's the same thing. When we take ourselves as humans, we kind of plug our energy into the earth, reconnect. My plant keeps hitting me. I think it's for a reason. We reconnect with the earth, right? Whether through being with plants or taking a salt bath or doing somatic movement or yada, 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 etc. I have a rather old video that's on YouTube that you guys can check out. I think it was actually the very first video I ever posted on the YouTube page. That is linked. My YouTube channel is linked on Instagram in my bio, so you can check that out. For Facebook people, I can just pop the link in the comments for you after this is done if you're curious about that. Also, all replays of this live event get uploaded onto the YouTube channel as well with timestamps too. So if you aren't able to stick around for all of this, or you want to come back and rewatch something later, that's always an option. So anyways, coming back to this. So number one, how do I stop feeling other people's energies? Number one is ground yourself. The more you bring your energy down, the less you're going to be up here. When we're experiencing stuff in the psychic realm, it is usually up here. We're experiencing it through the third eye. We're experiencing it through the crown, right? For those of you who are familiar with the chakra systems. It is also possible to experience it through the heart and through the sacral chakra as well. Hey, I'm Organics. Thanks for being here. You know, it's possible actually to experience it through any of them, but really when we're talking about specifically what this person was talking about is seeing and hearing, right? What are we talking? Seeing, hearing, both of those are third eye. So, so yeah, being able to ground, that's number one. Number two is setting up boundaries, right? So when we talk about the psychic world, we talk about energy and we talk about boundaries. A lot of people think about setting up shields, which is good and dandy and it's a fine practice, but it also takes a lot of energy to do it. So we need to think about boundaries in terms of how we would set them up in the physical world, right? So if you're having a problem with someone else, or if you don't like the way that you're habitually doing something or the patterns that you're experiencing cyclically in your life, you tell them to stop, or you tell them to go away, or you tell them not to bother you anymore, or you tell them what's wrong, or you tell yourself what's wrong and what to do to change things around. And so when we set boundaries energetically, that's going to be your biggest key. So number one is ground. Number two is setting those energetic boundaries. Now, how do we set energetic boundaries if we don't know ourselves energetically? So that's going to be number three. Okay, so number three is get to know yourself. Because if you get to know what your personal energy is, and I talk about this all the time, guys, if you get to know what your personal energy is, then it's going to be easier to distinguish this is mine, this is not mine, and to keep those boundaries intact and in place. Because if you don't understand that the energies that are coming in are not yours, there's no way to keep that boundary in place and intact. So those are the three that I would recommend. So I'll read this person's question again. It was, how do you turn off psychic abilities? I don't want to see or feel people's energies anymore. So number one is ground, number two, set energetic boundaries, and number three, know thyself. Okay, I'm also going to add a fourth one in there as well, which is setting intention and sending it out to the universe, right? So psychic abilities are fluid. They come and go. I actually just had a really strange experience. I experienced clairgustance, which is psychic taste, for the very first time. Very, very weird. I kept tasting metal halfway through eating meals, and I'd have to stop eating because it would be just like so metallic in my mouth. And at first I thought something was wrong with me, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me yesterday, and I was like, wait, am I experiencing clairgustance? And I muscle tested myself and I got, yep, are. So these things come and go, and we experience them as we need to. And so if you are getting too much of an overwhelm with the seeing of things or the hearing of things or whatever it is you're experiencing, setting that intention and saying, I don't want any of this anymore. If you say that enough, it will work. If you truly believe it, it will work. And that's really where it is. When we say setting intentions, and this can be a blanket thing, right? When we talk about setting intentions for things, we have gone surface in our popular world of like, oh, all you have to do is set the intention. But if you don't look at the shadow that's behind that of like, why isn't this going the way that I necessarily wanted it to? Then the intention is just going to be an intention. It's not going to work at all. So you might want to check in with yourself and say, okay, why does this keep happening? Is this something that I'm genuinely wanting to let go of? Am I genuinely not wanting to experience this anymore? Or is this something that I'm saying I don't want to experience, but then there's so much thrill in it and so much mystery and so much rush that actually I do kind of want to experience it. And so it's like this mixed messaging. Excuse me, wow, burp. Universe does not like mixed messages and mixed signals. So do the work on yourself, figure out why you might still be experiencing these things if you genuinely think that you don't want to. That's my answer to that question. We've had a couple other people join. Hey, Pat. Hey, Cassandra. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Duso. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all of you. All right, we've had a couple questions come in already. I knew you guys would be fired up today. I could feel it. Okay, Susan says, with everything that's going on energetically and astrologically right now, what activities would you say are best to focus on for the next few days and which would be best to avoid? So, oh, hey, Rachel, thanks for coming on. So, good question. That I would say is very, and this is going to sound like a cop-out, but it really depends on the individual. So I don't feel like I can adequately answer that question. As far as the actual collective energy goes, in terms of activities to do, I would definitely say paying attention to your emotions and to the feelings that are coming up. Full moon in Cancer and lunar eclipse are happening tomorrow. The 111 portal is happening the following day, as is excuse me, I was going to say Jupiter. Uranus going direct. Uranus is the planet of change, and it's been retrograde, so kind of slowing us down, making us think about what needs to change in our lives. And on the 12th, we have the biggest planetary event of probably the year. Yeah, already, guys, 2020 starting off with a bang, and it's the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. So if you want to learn more about any of this stuff, you can check it out in it's in my 2020 article on the Doorway to Self blog. So it's just doorwaytoself.com/blog. I also wrote a January article specifically as well, so it's also in there. You can find different information in both of those articles. They're good resources for that, and they're free, so can't get better than that. Anywho, so yes, Cancer is the most emotional of all of the astrological signs, and it has to do a lot with going within, right? We think of Cancer, it's a crab, it's a shell. You're going inside your shell and you're feeling all your feelings, but also juxtaposed by this full moon, where a full moon energy is about like going out and being in community. And then you also have the eclipse, which is also about like shutting everything down, reeling it back, making us take a second look at things, going within, yada, yada. So lots of juxtaposition between like, yeah, just listen to your body. Do you need to be with people? Do you need to be alone? Maybe that switches up every hour. Fine, go with it. Trust your body, trust your heart, trust your being. The other thing that I would suggest highly is any changes you want to make in your life, write a list and start writing the whys. Why do you want to make those changes? Really get deep into your psyche about that. And then how do you plan to make these changes? Or even if you don't know how, that's okay. Just leaving it at the why will help you to kind of sink into, this really needs to happen, or maybe this doesn't need to happen as much as I thought it did. But also, if you're a person who needs to stay accountable to yourself, maybe writing out some deadlines of like, okay, I want to quit my job by March, or I want to move to Alaska by February, or, whatever it is. So, those are good ideas as well. And then purpose work. What is my purpose? What is my passion? Where do I find myself at home and in my being, on my path? So I hope that's helpful to you. Hey, Kaylee. Hey, Alexandria. Thanks for coming on. Okie dokie. Elise says, can you give examples of what someone's own energy may look and feel like? How can they differentiate their own energy from others? Really good question. So, there's no one way to answer this. I would say find something that feels like you. That's the only way I can explain it. And this is what I work a lot with clients one-on-one with, is we go through, and actually I have a couple workshops dedicated to this as well, running through the gamut, right? What do you feel like to yourself? What do you look like to yourself? Do you look like a color or a shape? Is there a specific memory that you have where you felt truly like yourself that you can go back to? Is there a sound? Is there a song? Is there a pitch? Is there a specific food or taste that makes you feel like you, or a smell, etc.? The list kind of goes on. So yeah, that's how I would say to get in touch with yourself. But also just taking time sitting with you, right? Like, what better way to get to know a person than to spend time with them? So spend time with yourself. And I don't mean like watching Netflix or playing video games. Like, those are good and dandy, and I think they're great tools in terms of some other ideas. But in terms of connecting with yourself, I'm saying like legit sit with yourself, journal or sing, or just sit and see what your thoughts are. Talk to yourself on your voice recorder, on your phone, on your voice app, or your recorder app, and play it back for yourself, and listen to your voice, listen to what you have to say. Take a road trip just by yourself, just get to know yourself, get to know who you are. We are energy, as I said before, and as I've said many times, and energy is frequency, right? Energy is vibration, and frequency happens because frequency is sound, and sound comes at all different pitches and states and hertz and all sorts of things, right? So if you think of us all as vibrating at our own specific frequency, our own specific pitch, and maybe that changes as our mood changes, or as we go through our day, or as we sync with things that really, really hit us in a way that feels like home, or in a way that's really dissonant, our frequency is going to change a little bit. But the point is if you get to know your own frequency, or kind of the gamut that you run within that frequency strand of frequencies, I guess, that you would harness, that'll help you out as well. So I hope that's helpful. Oh, you just said that's so helpful. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so we don't have any other live questions at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the anonymous questions that were asked beforehand. There are a lot of new people on here right now, so if you've never been to a Q&A, I'm just going to repeat myself real quick. Feel free to drop any questions that you have in the comment box, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram. If you see me looking from screen to screen, it's because I'm on both. So it looks a little awkward, I'm sorry. And yeah, just feel free to pop in your questions into the comment box. I do accept anonymous questions, but only before the session, which is every month for 1 hour. So if you have an anonymous question you want to ask, you can feel free to message it to me privately on Instagram, Facebook, or through email, doorwaytoself@gmail.com. So now that I can see people's perceptions, is it bad for me to want to be famous? I had desires to be famous before. Since I'm psychic, is it bad if I still pursue these desires? So I thought this was a really interesting question. I've never gotten anything quite like it before. And it's something I've been thinking about recently. So in terms of being psychic, everyone's psychic. If you're human, you're psychic. Why? Because we are energy, which automatically gives us the ability to perceive energy. Whether that's a conscious or unconscious thing is completely up to life circumstance and wanting to experience that and life path and yada, 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 list goes on. But the point is that if you're human, you're psychic, you experience energy. So what does that have to do with being famous? Well, all famous people are psychic. It's just about whether or not they're able to manage that. And so this is something that I've actually been witnessing pretty extraordinarily lately. So people don't realize that when they put their energy out there as a public person, it's really important to call their energy back to them when they are done with that little tidbit, or even regularly throughout the day if they have like published videos or music or movies or something like that. So because what's happening is that when you are creating and you're putting out there and other people are connecting with your energy, other people are not completely aware of what they're doing energetically. And so a lot of the time they can do what's called courting, energetic courting. And if you don't know what that is, you can feel free to check out some of the Q&A replays from the past on YouTube, because I have answered questions about this quite a bit before. But basically, it's when they form a cord to you where they're able to tap into your energy. And so it's really important as a person in the spotlight to continuously make sure that you are clearing those cords away, right? So that you are not connected to anybody else who's not you energetically. They're not able to take your energy. You're not taking on their energy unknowingly. But so to cut those cords, clear your energy, which again goes back to you need to know your own energy in order to clear your energy, and also calling back your energy. So every single time I do a Q&A like this, I bask and revel in the awesomeness that this community is for a little while thereafter. And then I make space for myself to breathe and cut any cords that were formed unknowingly and clear myself. And then I call myself back. So I call my energy back to me because my energy is going outward right now. Not that I'm draining myself, because I'm not. It's just like, it's just this vast amount of energy that anybody can like tap into right now. So just calling it back. Okay, so I hope that's helpful to that person. So yes, the original question is it bad if I still pursue these desires? No, it's not bad to pursue the desires to be famous at all, as long as you're being safe about it, unless you don't care about being safe, in which case, whatever, that's on you. But yeah, anyways, let's see. I have some more things coming in. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for coming. First timer. Woo-woo. Hi, Michaela. You're also new. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate all of you for coming. Susan says, another question. I recently learned about the void of course moon. Can you talk about what this is and how it affects us? So, this is a tiny aspect. Astrologically, it's a little bit more complex. It happens quite often. So it's not like a huge event. unless you were born with it in your chart, in which case you might want to go check that out. I don't read the void of course stuff too much in charts, but I can give you a reference if you want. I want to say it's star-milk.com, star milk. And you can also find her on Instagram at Liquid Astrology. If you are not following this person already, Amber is fantastic, and she puts out daily astrological energy reports every single day on Instagram. So I definitely recommend a follow. I like every single one of her posts. I'm a little bit of a liquid astrology junkie. But anyways, so the void of course moon is essentially like a mini retrograde. So it's just going to like kind of go off path a little bit. It might affect your emotional state. You might get more anxious. You might get a little bit angry. Maybe some depression might set in, or completely the opposite. You might just feel like super energized. And again, it just depends on what was going on in your chart as well. But a lot of confusion too, sometimes some conflict. So it kind of varies. And it also depends on what sign the moon is at that point as well. So, I mean, it's not anything to be too concerned about, Susan. It's very minute. But if you're interested in it, I definitely would hit Amber up and see if she knows anything about it, or do some research. Cafeastrology.com has some really great references and resources for that as well, and they're all free. So let's see. You are welcome, Lisa. Elise says, I always protect and clear, but honestly haven't thought so much about how to go about calling my energy back on a daily basis. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, that's not something I really ever thought about before either. It's not something I think we ever really think about, because it's like, oh, I'm just doing this thing that I love doing. But actually working with my own mentor, who's just phenomenal. I've been working with her for almost a year now, which is just crazy to me. But it was over the summer that she was like, do you call your energy back? Have you ever done that? And I was like, what? And then my entire world changed drastically. So yes, definitely something that I would recommend doing. So I'm glad that was helpful to you. All right, I'm not seeing any other live questions coming in. For those of you, again, I'm going to repeat myself because I know a couple new people have come on. You are welcome to ask any questions whatsoever that you have. Just place them in the comment box on Facebook or Instagram, and I will get to them as soon as I'm done answering the previous question. Right now, I'm going to answer a question that was sent in to me anonymously beforehand, which is something you are also welcome to do if you would like. I do these Q&As every month, so that your question will be answered next month if you decide to do that, because I only accept anonymous questions beforehand. Oh, actually, you're welcome, Susan. Hey, Michelle. Michelle says, I have experienced seeing several orbs and different shapes of different colors on my walks. I've become very intrigued by this. Is there a specific meaning for certain colors or shapes? Can you recommend resources? Yeah, so it's interesting actually when I've noticed this, when we start coming up on huge shifts and changes astrologically or numerologically, or just like basically any, as I like to call it, thin day that there is. I call it that because it's like the veil between our physical world and the psychic world is really, really thin. So it's a thin day. So that would be anything like the day of the full moon, the day of the new moon, solstice, equinox, the quarter days in between those, and then portal days like the 111 portal on Saturday, 111 numerology, or the Saturn-Pluto conjunction would definitely be one of those thin veil days. So I've noticed that when those days are approaching, I do see way more of those around. So it does not surprise me that you've been on the walks lately and seeing those. I have also noticed that they have been exceptionally vivid lately. And that's no mistake either, because there are literally 3 portal days in a row coming up as well. I talked about that a little bit ago in this video as well. So if you missed that, you are welcome to go back and watch it once the replay is posted. But anyways, so specific meanings. I would say if there's a color that really touches you, or a shape that really touches you, it's usually something that's specifically trying to get your attention. To me, this question is very similar to people asking questions like, what is the meaning of me seeing bees? Or what is the meaning of the color blue? Or what is the meaning of, you're getting the idea. And the point is that universe is putting these in your path. They're in your path, right? And I can't tell you what your path is. I can't tell you what you are seeing in your path. And so while I really wish I could give you an answer that's direct about what the meanings of a green orb versus a purple orb might be, I don't really feel like I can do that, because it really is about your own experience with that. And so I would recommend checking in with yourself. What are you feeling emotionally? What are you feeling? Where are you feeling those emotions in your body? What are you feeling energetically as that's happening? Maybe you're experiencing some clairsentience. You're having some tingling sensations, or maybe you're also hearing whispers in your ear, some clairaudience, and you don't even realize it because you're so like trying to figure out, well, what does this mean that you're not hearing the whispers? Something like that. So I would say just like really tune in to yourself, and what's going on in your experience, and also what's going on in your life as well, because they could very well be giving you messages for what's going on in your personal life. Look at where the orbs are placed, or how many of them there are, or if the certain color or shape reminds you of someone or something, or points you in a certain direction that you've been looking for guidance to get to. So that would be my advice for that. As far as resources, let me think on that. I don't know any off the top of my head. I don't know any off the top of my head. But if I do figure something out, I will definitely let you know. So thanks for asking that. It's been happening for several months. Okay, yeah. So then, yeah, I would. Okay, if this has been happening for several months, I would say that. I mean, this is clearly more of like a personal basis. I'm curious as to if you have ever experienced clairvoyance before, psychic sight, psychic seeing, and if you haven't, then if you've, or excuse me, if you have, if you've ever experienced it in terms of seeing shapes and colors like this. Sometimes there's a lag in this, so I'm gonna let you answer that real quick. All right. While I am waiting for you to answer that, I just want to remind all of you that on Saturday, 1/1/1, the day after the full moon and lunar eclipse, the day that Uranus is the day that Uranus is turning back direct, and the day before the grand Pluto-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn, I will be hosting a workshop at the Remedy House in Grand Rapids. It's called Cosmic Kintsugi. There are 4 spots left. So if you want to come, I would recommend getting a ticket, because it's like 3/4 of the way sold out at this point. So you can get tickets if you're on Facebook. You can head over to the events section on the Doorway to Self page. There is a ticket link on the actual event, as well as a full description of what we'll be doing, which I can talk about a little bit right now. And if you're on Instagram, you can head to my bio, and the link in my bio will have a ticket link for you as well, with like a little tiny description. But basically, what we will be doing is top secret. No, actually though, I'm not going to tell you about the specific activities just because I'm holding them really close right now as I continue to sink into them and make sure that they are exactly right for the group of people who's coming. But general themes we'll be working through: connecting with your higher self, connecting with your path and your purpose, connecting with your emotions, seeing how when you really truly feel your truth, it guides you forward, and blowing up anything in your path that is obstructing it and saying, see ya. That's what we're going to be working with on Saturday. Juxtaposition of light and dark, finding your inner gold, grounding. I mean, it's going to be, I'm just really excited. So if this is something that is calling to you, please, please, please sign up. I would love to have you there. So that's all I'm going to say about that. All right. It looks like we have an answer from Michelle. Also, I'm seeing hi, Stephen. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for coming on. Okay, Michelle, you say, yes, I have, and becoming more prevalent as I work on myself. I pick up on colors when doing Reiki on others. Yeah, for sure. And this is actually something that I have seen rampantly, is that as people become attuned in Reiki, I've noticed their clairvoyance has just been like whooshing open like no other day, and especially in terms of colors and seeing orbs and shapes and etc. So if you were attuned around the time that you started seeing those shapes, or practicing really heartily around that time, then that would be a very good explanation. But also, a lot of the reason I find that happening as well is because you're gathering more guides, and those guides are coming and they're being like, hey, we're here to help you, and here we are, see us, know us. So that could also be a huge thing that's going on as well. Okay, let's see. Hey Tippy, thanks for coming on. Why am I always seeing the number 9/11 almost every day? So given the connotation of that, I'm sure that's maybe been a little bit scary for you. I apologize for that. They would have chosen that number to show you. So the number 9 in numerology is the number of endings. It's closing, it's letting go, it's saying goodbye, it's setting boundaries, it's endings. The number 11 is a doorway. It's the master doorway. And so basically when you're seeing 9/11 numerologically, it's basically like a tip off of like, this is a really good time for you to let go of whatever it is that you have your mind on, or to say goodbye to past things, or to clean your closet, or move out, or whatever it is. I'm not shocked you've been seeing that number a lot. We are coming up to a pinnacle of letting go, doorways to letting go, doorways to saying goodbye, I'm done with this. That's what the next 3 days starting tomorrow are going to be about a lot. But specifically about that in terms of moving towards path and purpose, moving more in alignment with yourself and your life path here in this lifetime. So, I hope that's helpful to you. Oh, you're welcome, Michelle. Steven says, I go out of body, sometimes traveling really fast, sometimes just spinning in circles in my room. I don't practice anything spiritual. Why is this happening to me? Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I love that clause of I don't practice anything spiritual. Why is this happening to me? Yeah, because you're probably like, I didn't ask for this. That's just what I'm imagining. So I can't really tell you why this is happening to you. What I can tell you is maybe how to lessen it or stop it. And my answer for you is grounding. Um, Specifically grounding into your body. So since you claim not to be a spiritual person, grounding, I actually explained it in the very beginning of this video, so you're welcome to go back and nope, I'm getting there are people on here that need this again, so I'm going to say it again. Grounding is when you connect to the earth and you connect to your body, and you essentially make your energy calm down. Okay, so if you think of it like plugging an electrical outlet into a socket, you are grounding that energy. It's the same thing. You're plugging yourself. You're the electricity. You're plugging yourself into the ground. You're grounding yourself out. For you specifically, it sounds like there is a disconnect between your spiritual body and your physical body. And so calling your body back in, firstly, and secondly, finding ways to kind of glue it there. And what I mean by that is really becoming in touch with your physical body. Okay, so doing things like starting at the top of your head with your hands and going all the way down with your hands, feeling every single part of your body, all the way down to your feet. Doing things like noticing where you feel emotions in your body when emotions are coming up. Doing things like paying attention to what you're eating when you're eating it, feeling how it feels in your mouth, or when you drink something, feeling it go down your throat, down your chest, into your belly. Maybe some somatic movement, things like yoga or Tai Chi or ecstatic dancing, or even just like drastically working out, something like that, or even just a light workout, like if you go for a walk every day or something like that, physical exercise. All of those are ways to reconnect with your body specifically. So those are all things I would recommend in terms of trying to help with that process. As for the why, it could be happening because I see this a lot in people who experienced traumatic events, specifically as children, but really at any point in time in their lives. So if you suffer from PTSD, or if you had a traumatic event in your childhood that you blocked out, you repressed it, you don't remember it, then it's possible that this is your kind of protective mechanism to just leave your body. It's not protective at all, but it's kind of like how when it's cold outside, snot drips from our noses. It makes zero sense, right? Because the snot is freezing to your face as it's happening, but the body's trying to release it because it's saying, ooh, there's liquid in here, it could freeze inside, and that's detrimental to us, so it lets it go instead. So it's the same thing. Well, not the same thing. That was a very minimized version of it. But, this idea of come back to the body. It's safe to be in here. And really doing work on why does it feel unsafe to be in the body. And maybe it doesn't feel unsafe to you, at least not consciously, but unconsciously, I just kind of wonder what's going on. So let's see. You say, I just keep screaming at the angels for protection. I'm very spiritual. I just don't practice anything. It happens unintentionally. Okay. So, that's a different story. Although it's not too different for my answers to what to do. Definitely ground. And then also still do that shadow work, look into your childhood, look into your past. Why do you not feel safe in your body unconsciously? Because this clearly isn't a conscious thing, but unconsciously, why don't you feel safe in your body? Or why don't you feel safe on Earth? Why don't you want to be on this planet? Where do you feel like you're supposed to be? What is home for you? Maybe that sounds a little out there, but sometimes doing that work can be really helpful for this kind of thing as well. I think my computer is overheating. Oh, yes, it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold it up like that. Okay, so I hope that's helpful to you, Stephen. In terms of screaming to the angels for protection, so I'm just curious as to if you're screaming to the angels for protection and then this happens, or you're screaming to the angels for protection after this happens. Oh, you're welcome, Alexandria. You're so welcome. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. During. Okay, so you scream to the angels for protection, and as you're screaming to them, that's when you leave your body. I'm just trying to get a gauge for this. During your astral travels. Okay, so when you scream to them for help, are you able to come back into your body? I'm just trying to work through this. No. Okay. Yeah, so I would just recommend grounding, really. I know it sounds simple and maybe a little bit trivial. I'm speaking from the experience of someone who used to be a junkie for living outside of the body. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, anybody who told me you need to ground yourself out, I was just like, whatever. Okay, you guys are missing out. Here's the fun stuff, whatever. And so my guess is that because you're a spiritual person and because you're probably practicing some pretty heavy stuff or heady stuff, that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting, is that it's just become your body's natural reaction at this point to like spin out. Because you're not grounding. So make sure to do that on a daily basis. During yeah, see, you say it's pretty cool and fun, just so confused why it's happening unintentionally. So yeah, if you're setting the intention to reach new spiritual heights or to experience cool things or whatever it is, then yeah, this kind of stuff is going to happen. You're sending that message out to the universe. I'll just be laying in my bed, then boom, I'm out of my body for no reason. Yep. And always these things tend to happen before bed as well. This is something I've talked about as well, because we're right in that in-between, right? It's another thin veil. We're right in that in-between between sleeping and waking. So we're still conscious of what's going on, but our judgment and our logic are shut off. So it's easiest for us to then experience psychic experiences during that point in time, because there's nothing to say, oh, this can't be true, or oh, this can't happen, or oh, this isn't logical, or oh, like, what does this mean, right? So it's going to be easier for something like that. The grounding part makes so much sense. Thank you. You're so welcome. And I do have a full video of grounding tips and how to do it. It's rather old, but it's on YouTube. If you search doorway to self-grounding, it should pop up. So I hope that's helpful for you as well. Awesome. Good questions, guys. I knew tonight was going to be probably a little bit intense just because of the energy that's going on. So I do appreciate all of you who have shown up this evening thus far. Holy cow, we are almost done. That time flew by. So I'm going to read another question from the anonymous box. How does a clairsentient protect themselves from ancestral trauma? All right, so I love these questions where I can kind of help clarify some things for you, and that was partially pun intended. Clarify, yeah, haha. So clairsentience has absolutely nothing to do with ancestral trauma whatsoever. Other than how you might be experiencing it. So anyone, so for those of you who don't know what the clairs are, so as I've said already, if you're human, you're psychic. There are several different ways to experience psychic energy, and those ways are broken down into what are called the clairs. You have clairvoyance, psychic sight, clairaudience, psychic hearing, etc., through all the five senses, plus then some. One of those then sums is clairsentience, which is the ability to feel energy, feel the energy that's happening between yourself, your energy field, and someone else's, or another room, a space, a tree, a rock, an animal, whatever it is. The point is, as I talked about before, we're all our own frequencies. That includes objects, that includes places. And so when our frequency interacts with the frequency of something or someone else, if we have clairsentience, it will give us a physical sensation of some sort. So usually the chills, or anxiety, or a feeling of heat or cold, hair prickling up, achiness in certain organs or body parts. The list goes on. Anyways, so being clairsentient has nothing to do with protecting yourself from ancestral trauma. That would come with any of the clairs. Hey Femma, thanks for coming on. So that would have to do with any of the clairs. No matter what psychic senses you have tapped into or not, you're going to experience ancestral trauma. No doubt. No, there's zero question about it, because who are we as human beings? Yes, we're psychic. We are also descendants of other human beings who've experienced trauma. Trauma can look like anything as severe as being in a war or as sexual assault. It can also look as kind of, I don't want to use the word small, but other people would view it as small, but something like a teacher yelling at you in kindergarten, or your parents telling you you can't do what you want to do for a living, or someone telling you to shut up when you're telling your story. Those would all be traumatic events as well. And all of us have experienced some of those kind of more minute in time traumas. And so ancestral trauma is there for every single one of us. How you perceive that, I'm assuming your question, anonymous person, is about how you would experience that through clairsentience. So the trauma might come up for you through any of those sensations that I said, like tingling or warmth or burning or achy joints or things like that. But the advice I'm going to give is going to be for anyone. I don't think there's such thing as protection from ancestral trauma. It's something you are being asked to acknowledge and to see. These are the stories of the people who have created you, whether you like them or not. You are made of them. Your bones are these stories. And so it's not so much about protecting yourself from them as it is about hearing those stories, feeling them in your body, acknowledging that they're there, and then allowing space to release them, allowing space for them to either be integrated in a way that gives you more strength, or to release them by giving them healing of some sort. Visiting someone who does DNA re-encoding or energy work of any sort, or myofascial release work. I always give a shout out to Rachel Davies of Essence Physical Therapies and Michel as well. So both of those people do myofascial release and unwinding. They might find some spots. I know Kate Block at Little Dipper Yoga also does emotional release stuff as well. She presses on different parts of the body, stuff comes up. That would also be a good resource. So, and then also, actually, this is really good. One of my favorite teachers in this world ever, Bridget Nielsen, I refer to her all the time, is, I don't know if it's closed or not, or if she's offering it again, but she is doing an ancestral trauma course. It's very, very moderately priced. There's just like a chock full of stuff in this offering. So I would definitely recommend going and checking that out. I hope it's still on offer for you, because that would be a really good resource for you as well. So I hope that that is helpful to this person who asked this question. Alrighty, folks, I am not seeing any more questions coming in, and we are at about time. So I am going to do something for you guys. I got my cards out, and I am going to draw something for the next 3 days, just in terms of what, and the card fell out. Again, what does this collective need in the next 3 days to get through these next 3 days? And it is the 5 of the major arcana. So this is a tarot deck. It's the Hierophant. And so basically, I'll hold this up so you guys can see the picture. I'll get you Instagram in a second. So this is the Voyager tarot deck, by the way. This is my first ever tarot deck that was gifted to me. So basically, this energy is saying, move through it, move through your story, keep going, work through this. You've got this. The next 3 days, a lot of people have been terrified about it, but honestly, I think it's going to be one of the most strengthening experiences of any of our lives. Because what the next 3 days is it's helping us to have all of our emotions come up, to really feel into that, feel where our emotions live in our body, feel the truth in our body, and then move towards our higher selves, connect with our purpose, and then move into saying, no, enough, I'm done with this. I'm letting this go. It's not in alignment with me. It's not mine. It's not mine to deal with. It's not my problem. Not my monkey, not my circus, right? That is what these next 3 days is about, is cutting out, bushwhacking all those things in our path that are not supposed to be there, that we keep saying yes to, or we keep pushing ourselves aside for, or putting ourselves in the background for, or whatever it is. And, so that's kind of what's going on. Really exciting energy. Again, I am doing a workshop on Saturday on 111 portal. And there are 4 spots left, although there might not be by this point. I'm not sure, because I've already plugged this a couple times in this live. Cosmic Kintsugi, you can find the event in the link in my bio on Instagram, or in the events section of the Facebook page. There is a description and a ticket link as well. What's her name again? Bridget Nielsen. And you can find, she does videos on YouTube all the time. You can also find her stuff on Instagram and on her website, and I think she does Facebook as well. So all good resources for sure. But again, my name is Rachel Leah Gerson. I'm a metaphysical practitioner and creatrix of Doorway to Self, where we find ourselves now. Thank you so much for joining me today, for being with me in this container, in this portal of incredible humans who have all come together. I see so many regulars every month, and it keeps growing. So I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful that this has touched all of you to either come back again or to start coming. And if you're a newbie here, feel free to sign up for my email list so that you can know when the next one of these is. I don't have a date just yet, so if you want updates on the latest information as to when that is, please sign up for my email list, doorwaytoself.com. A little subscribe box will come up, and you can just pop your email in there. And you can also find me on Instagram if you're not watching me on there already, if you're Facebook people, at Doorway to Self. I also have a private account on Instagram where I share my own well, it's a public account, but it's my personal account on Instagram where I share my personal journey and experiences. You can follow that as well at rachel.leah.gerson. You can find me, Instagram people, on Facebook, Doorway to Self. And again, I have all of the replays from past Q&As with timestamps and the questions listed on YouTube. So if you are curious about what was talked about in past Q&As, please go on YouTube, please hit the bell, subscribe, and check out the past replays. This video will be up in a couple of days with those timestamps and comments as well. Also, I have a really exciting announcement for a collective that I have been asked to be a part of. It's coming up really soon. you will have the opportunity to join as well. So I just wanted to do a quick little shameless plug for you there. Again, thank you so much to all of you who have joined me today. It's wonderful to be with you on a Thursday when I no longer have class. And thank you to all of you as well who have offered me congratulations to finishing my academic portion of my graduate counseling career. I very much appreciate that. Okay, have a wonderful full moon. Have a wonderful 111. Have a wonderful Pluto-Saturn conjunction. I love you all. Over and out.